Let's turn now to MSNBC political analyst Howard Fineman, also senior political editor of the Huffington Post. Good evening, Howard.
Hi, Keith.
This has been an extraordinary week in this debate between these two parts of the Democratic Party, but this quote, F the president, kind of strong. What can you tell us about the Democratic revolt in the House this morning?
Well, like Barney Frank, I wasn't there either, but I did talk to a lot of people who were, and it was pretty startling. There was sotto voce, apparently, not too loud, and F the president. There was a no effing way. There was a he effed it up. We had a fairly liberal use of the F word inside those closed doors. And there was a lot of anger. And frankly, the president's appearance before this same group of people yesterday, when he tried to explain his side of things, didn't help. As a matter of fact, it just made things worse, is my understanding of it. One member I talked to said if this is the way he's going to negotiate with the Republicans, what's he going to do with the Iranians, And we had other people I had other people telling me, look, there's 63 members in there, I think it's 63, who lost, who are kind of like the walking ghosts at this point. They're stuck in little cubicles in the basement of the Capitol. Mm-hmm. They lost the election in many cases because they championed the previous position the president took. Now they're being asked to abandon it, and whether they sort of agree substantively or not, they're angry. They're angry. They feel ignored, which they were. Some members of the leadership were not clued in on this at all until after the fact. For example, Jim Clyburn, who's in the leadership, wasn't at that meeting at the vice president's house last Saturday night. So there's a lot of anger and frustration. And it was all expressed this morning behind closed doors.
Right. And just to clarify, you were referring to the vice president. We haven't seen the president actually addressing the Democrats in the House yet. That would be a meeting that they should just pay-per-view and solve all of our budget problems right there. We crunched some numbers, and here's how this looks to us. The House passed the president's original plan last week, the 55% majority. President's original plan got in the Senate 59% backing. Now a Republican filibuster in the Senate is going to block this popular plan, and a de facto Democratic filibuster in the House is blocking the unpopular plan. Why is the White House going all out to hit the Democratic one in favor of the unpopular plan?
Well, I suppose you could say no good deed goes unpunished within the Democratic world. I mean, the White House has been the place, has been the launching pad, really, and to switch metaphors, a sort of steadfast place for the White House and for the president. So they assumed that ultimately the House would go along, and of course also the rules are somewhat different. It's not quite the same thing. The Republicans do have a stronger hand under the rules in the Senate. But I just think the White House has been focused for the last 2 years primarily on the Senate and the difficulties there, given the close margins there, the almost filibuster-proof majority, et cetera. And they took their eye off the ball in the case of the House. And I also think the fact that Rahm Emanuel, who used to be chief of staff and who is a veteran of the House, has gone back to Chicago to run for mayor there, may have had something to do with it.
Last point, much of the reporting today was that House Democrats were equally mad about the substance of this plan as about how it was negotiated. Can you corroborate? Can you explain that?
Oh, yeah, that's absolutely correct. And I think the estate tax everybody's focusing on is a big part of it. First of all, the House members didn't hear anything about that in the negotiations that were going on, and when they even finally were informed about what was happening. And they view it as a big giveaway because the numbers, both in terms of the limits that's set on families that can pass along money and in terms of the rate, are more generous in both cases than anything George W. Bush proposed. And what the Democrats inside the House caucus are saying is, how'd that happen? Yep. Why that? Because the Republicans were even themselves surprised at the numbers that they ended up with there.
Howard Fineman of the Huffington Post and MSNBC, thank you for some of your time tonight, Howard.
Thanks, Keith.